So guys, here is my brown paper that I'm going to be drafting on. So this is for, I'm going to be starting with the front bodies, and here I fold my pattern paper into two, right, because of the neck. So and that's why, because the neck is going to, the shoulders on both sides is going to be different. That's why I have to fold my fabric into two. So you have to fold your fabric into two the way I've done here. Then after which I'm going to be coming down. Then I'll be coming down for my guideline. So this point here will serve as our guideline, right, as the shoulder line. So from on this shoulder line, I'm going to be marking my shoulder divided by 2, which is 8 inches. My neck width is 3 inches. Then I'm going to be coming down from this shoulder 8.5 inches. That's for my armhole depth. Then I'm going to be coming down 1 inch for my slope. Then go up ½ inch for my shoulder seam allowance. Then on this neck width too, I'm going to go up to ½ inch. So I'll connect my slope line this way, my neck width to my slope, and the shoulder seam allowance of ½ inch, which is what I have here. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to, this will now become our chest line. So let me really straight. This will now serve as our chest line. Then I'm going to be coming down from this shoulder. I'll be coming down 10 inches. This will serve as our bust point. Then shoulder to under bust is 14.5. Then the half length is 16.5 plus ½ inch to sew it to the down part, which is 17 inches. Then I'll make this line. I'll be marking my nipple to nipple divided by 2 here. Then I'll be connecting it straight to my bust line, which is what I have there. Then on this part here, I'm going to be coming in on both sides my dart leg. So I'm making use of using 1.25. So I divide it by 2. Then I share it on both sides, right? So on this waist here, I'm going to be marking my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll mark it here. Then I'll be replacing this dart intake. I'll replace it here. Then I'll come to my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll also mark it here. Then I'll connect this straight up this way. Then I'll connect my dart leg. I'll connect it up this way. Connect this up this way, right? Then on my under bust here, I'm going to be tightening my under bust, right? So from this dart leg here, I'm going to go in 1.25, right? Then from this dart middle, my nipple to nipple line, right, I'm also going to come in this way 0.75, which is here. So I'll be connecting this straight down this way. I'll also connect this to straight down this way. Then I will use my curve ruler. I'll place it this way. Then I'll connect it to my bust area this way. So that's it. So that's it. Then I'll be marking the center point. I'll mark the midpoint of my, I'll come to the shoulder and divide it by 2. Then I'll mark the midpoint. Then I'll connect it. I'll connect it straight to my bust this way, right? Then the side dart is going to be, panel will be longer than the back panel with 1.5 inches. So I'm going to be removing that at the side 1.25, 1.5 inches, so that it's going to be aligned with the back side, right? So you can make use of 1 inch, can make use of 1.5 inches. So this is what I have here. So now I'm also going to mark the midpoint of my armhole depth, which is here. Then from that midpoint, I'm going to be coming in ½ inch, right? Then I'll use a straight ruler to connect it up this way. And I'll use my curve ruler. And I'll use my curve ruler to connect it to my bust circumference divided by 4 this way, right? So we make sure that this place is not sharp. So this is what I have now. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to be closing the bust dart and open it here. So I want to remove the excess at this armhole area, this shoulder area, any excess that we have there. So you can skip this part, but I just want my clothes to be very fitted. That's why I'm going to do this method here. So what I will do is that I'm going to slant this part here open. I will be closing this. I'll close the side dart. So now what I will do is that I'll get my tape rule and I'm going to measure what I have, the distance that I have here, right, which is 2 inches. I'll divide it by 4. The 2 inches, I'll divide it by 4. So I'll place my tape rule this way, which is 1. I'll place it again, which is half inches, right? That half inches, I'm going to remove it from here, right? Half inch this way. Then I'll be connecting it straight to my apex on the bust line this way, right? So this part here, we're going to close it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using my tracing wheel to make this line obvious so that I can see it on this other side, because you know that this paper is folded into 2. So by the time we open it up, we're going to see this reflection too everywhere, right? So I'll use my tracing wheel. So if you don't have this tracing wheel, you can use your pin, right? Just mark it on it like this all through. It's a very long process, but it makes your dresses come out very nice. So just work with it, you love your dress. So I'm just going to use my tracing wheel to mark this part out. Then it will have appeared too on this side, right? So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to replace this half inch here. I'll replace it on this side, right, on my armhole area here, because we're going to close this. So we'll connect this, we'll connect our new armhole this way. So guys, you can see the way I'm placing my curve ruler, right, to connect the new armhole. So this will now become our new armhole. So this one no longer needed, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up this way. Then I'm also going to use my tracing wheel to trace this, to make this line obvious this way, so that I can have it on both sides, right? So I'm also going to mark this way. Then by the time you open it up, you see the center line here, so just follow it to the center line 2 area as well. So that's what I have there. Make sure that I have this line on both sides. Then the new armhole too, we'll trace it out so that we'll have it on. So I've used the tracing wheel tool to trace this area here and to also trace all this dark line here, right? So when I open it up this way, I'm going to transfer this to this side by just following the mark here. So I can see the mark now on this side, so I'm just going to follow it up. I also trace the new armhole. So this line here is the new armhole, right? then this is the center. So just make the center point obvious here. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to close it up again, then I'm going to open this center point here. Then I'll open it up again. So when I open it up this way, I'm just going to mark this 3 inches depth. So here I have 3.25 inches depth for the back, for the front, right? So I'm just going to also have it on both sides. Then I'll be connecting my shoulder line this way. So that's it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to close this up. So I'll close this way. So we are transferring this excess here to this side, right? So we can use your tape rule to hold this down. You can use your tape rule to hold this down this way, but I'm going to use my pin to pin it down this way. I'm also going to pin this two down. I'll close it up this way. Next I'm going to do, after closing this shoulder line that we slash open, after closing it, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to determine where the neck shaping, where I want it to be. So I'm going to choose my left side. So my left armhole area, that's where I'm going to use. And this, if I place it on, this is where it's going to be my left armhole, right? So on this left part where I want the style of that neck to be, what I will do is that I'm going to measure 1 inch. So let me just say, you can just measure from this center point here, right? Your center point, you just measure 4 inches. That means your neck width is going to be 4 inches on this part, right? Then from that 4 inches, I'm going to come down 5.5 inches. This 5.5 inches, because by the time I want to cut it on my fabric, I don't need to add seam allowance to the neck area. So I've already considered it. So what I want is 6 inches. So I'll be using 1/2 inch to sew this part. And my neck width too is going to go to 4.5 inches, which is fine. So I'm just going to use my straight ruler to connect it straight up this way, because I want this part to be straight. Then the neck width is 3 inches, right? So I'm going to maintain the neck width of 3 inches on this part, which is my right side, right? Then on my left side, I'm going to use neck width of 4 inches. So what I will do is that I will place my curve ruler starting from this 5.5 inches that we came down. I'll place it this way. Then I'm going to be connecting it to my neck this way. So I'll blend it to the neck this way, right? So you can see the way I blend it. So this is fine. So this is going off, right? So this is now our new neck, right? Then the next thing I'm going to do is that my bust, this is my bust line. this is the bust line, right? So this is the dart apex at the bust line. So I'll just connect it to meet this 5.5 inches that we now have our neck depth. So I'll connect it this way. So from here, like this, like this, like this, it is now one panel, right? So let's mark it. This is one panel. Then coming to this right side, I want the dart to connect to the armhole area. Remember, this one will connect it to the neck, right? This one will connect it to the dart, the armhole area, right? So what I will do is that this is our midpoint of the armhole. So while I was tracing it, I also mark the midpoint. So but if you did not mark it, what you can do is that you can just measure, start for your guideline here, just come down. Remember when we came down for our chest, our armhole depth, we use 8.5 inches, which is here. Then this 8.5 inches, we came down for the slope of 1 inch. Then from that slope of 1 inch, we now have left of 7.5. Then the midpoint of that 7.5, which is here. So you can do it that way to get your midpoint. So from that midpoint, I'm going to be coming down 1 inch. I'll come down 1 inch this way. Then I'll place my curve ruler this way. Then I'll connect it to my bust line, that apex. I'll connect it up this way. So this will now serve as our, this right side will be having we'll connect the princess dart to our armhole, right? While on this left side, we connect the princess dart to the neck depth from on the left side. Then on the right side, we'll connect the princess dart to the armhole. So that means that both side darts have different method, right? So this is number 1 panel. So we'll cut it this way, right? Then you add 1/2 inch on this part here, stop here, right? You notch this place, so you stop here. So this is 1 panel. Then this is the second panel. So you add 1/2 inch on this part here this way and stop here, right? Then we also add 1/2 inch too on this part this way to this armhole area. Then this is the third panel. Then we'll add 1/2 inch too on this part here to this area. Hope that is clear. So this is it for the front panel. So we are going to cut it out. But before we cut it out, remember we have done a lot of changes on this neck area. So that means that we have to also introduce that to the back panel. So for me to introduce that to the back panel, before I cut this out, I'm going to be drafting the back panel. So let's keep this aside. So this is, I'm going to be using this for my back panel. Here I fold my pattern into 2. So I'm going to be marking for my zip seam allowance. So guys, I'm going to be rushing through the back panel because the video is becoming too long, but just follow the process by 2, which is 8 inches that we use for the front. To maintain that for the back. Then we'll maintain our neck width of 3 inches. Then the neck depth for the back, I'm going to be making use of 1/2 inch. Remember this, I'm considering the seam allowance I'm going to use to sew it, right? So I'll connect my neck width to my neck depth this way, enter into the zip seam allowance this way, right? Then from this shoulder here, I'm going to be coming down 1 inch for our slope. So this back panel is just the regular panel that I've been making use of in this YouTube channel. So just watch other of my video if you don't understand this process. So that 1.5 inches that we use for the side dart, we are subtracting it from this back panel. Hope that is clear. So the length of our back, I'm now going to be having 15.5 inches. Remember it was 17 inches for the front minus 1.5 give us 15.5. so this will now serve as our waistline for the back, 15.5, right? So I'm basically obtaining all the things that I made on my front panel. The only difference between the front and this is just the dart. My dart here, I'm connecting it to my slope, right? So just follow the process. So now I'm going to cut this out, then I'll be placing it on both sides so that we can get the neck even. So with this now, we now have two, right? So this will be for the zip seam along this is the right side, right? So we just indicate this is the right side. Then we'll keep this aside now, then come back to the front. This is also our right side, right? When I want to cut it on my fabric, I'll just place it this way, place the right side of my fabric up and place it up this way. So now, for me to have it equal here, I'm going to close it up again this way. Then I'll cut it. So make sure that you don't pass where you have it here, right? Just stop here this way. Then this front, this part here, remember that we already have some shortage here, so you just have to replace whatever shortage you have, replace it back this way. Then I'll open it up. Just be careful, we are getting there. So this is it. So now remember this is going this way, so we can close this up now, side that this way. After closing the side that here, then I'll cut it through this way. Make sure that you keep all your pieces together. So I'll keep this aside. Then I'll come here too. I'll cut this through, and I'll close the side that. So I totally forgot this process. So before you cut out, please make sure that you place this on both sides together this way, right? So that you can mark it, so that you can have the neck width equal, right? Another thing you need to do is that, remember, this part here has to be equal. Hope you are seeing what I'm doing. This slope here has to be equal here, right? So place it together this way. Make sure that the slope is equal here, so you can see that it's equal here. So I'm going to be marking where my line start from, so which is here. So I'll blend it into the zip this way. So I'll blend it this way. So this part now is okay. So I'm going to be cutting this part off. Then from this one, I'm also going to place it this way. Right. Now this is fine. So you don't remember, we did not cut anything out from this other side. So our neck width is still the same. So that means that we are not cutting anything from here. This part is still okay. It's just this one, this left side, that we change, right? So this is the left side that it has to be equal with this. So on this back now, I'm going to remove this. So that's it. Then this part is still okay. So that's it for this, for the back. Then for the front, we have cut this part. So remove this. This is for our shoulder seam allowance. Then we're also going to remove this. So remember that I said you should notch this area, right? So that when you are sewing it, it has to meet. So you notch this point here, right? So make sure that you notch it. So this point here, I'm going to notch it on my fabric. So I'll cut this neck area. So these are all my panels. So this is going to be sewn back this way. Sew it back to meet this point here, right? While this is going to be sewn to this part here. So this is what we have for the front panel. So this is number 1, number 2, number 3, right? So when I want to cut it on my fabric, I'm going to be adding ½ inch starting from this point here. I will add ½ inch on this area here to this down part. I also add ½ inch too on this area to join this together and stop it here, right? Then I will add my size seam allowance, right? Whatever size seam allowance I want to use, I will add it starting from this place here. I will add it here. Then coming to this side too, I'm also going to add ½ inch seam allowance on this area to this armhole area. I also add 2 on this part here to this armhole area to join these two together, right? So that, then I will add my size seam allowance too on this part here, right? Then for the back panel,